He wants access to you without responsibility. That's the truth many of us don't want to admit. He doesn't want to call. He doesn't want to text. He doesn't want to have a real conversation, but he wants to know where you are, what you're doing, how you're living. He wants the benefits of emotional connection without the cost of commitment. And that's what watching your stories gives him. It gives him that silent access. He scrolls past hundreds of people, but pauses on yours. Not because he plans to reach out, not because he has something important to say, but because watching you gives him a sense of presence in your life. It makes him feel like he's still part of your world, without having to take any real action to deserve that access. And you feel it too. You see his name pop up. You check your viewers. There it is again. The ghost who disappeared when you needed him. The one who left when he saw you becoming too much, too deep, too real. But let me tell you something. If a man watches you from the shadows but never steps into the light, it's not love, it's not interest, it's emotional control. He's managing his access to you. He's making sure you don't forget him. He's using your visibility as a window back into your world, and sometimes even back into your heart. But he doesn't want the responsibility of showing up for you. He just wants the illusion that you're still accessible. This kind of man thrives in the gray area. He doesn't want to let you go, but he doesn't want to step up either, so he watches quietly, consistently, like a shadow. It's not curiosity, it's control, and deep down you feel that little spike of hope when you see his view, that thought of, maybe he still cares. But sis, don't confuse visibility with value. Just because he sees you doesn't mean he cherishes you. Just because he watches doesn't mean he's ready for you. He wants you to keep putting your life on display so he can feel like he still matters, like he still has a place in your life. But he's doing it without any intention of rebuilding trust, showing growth, or offering consistency. That's not romantic. That's not healing. That's manipulation. You deserve someone who shows up in real life, not just in your notifications, someone who takes the risk to say, I miss you, or I messed up, or I want to try again, and not someone who hides behind the safety of watching your story and doing nothing. When someone watches you but doesn't speak, they've made their choice. Believe it, and make yours too. Stop performing your life for an audience that doesn't applaud, support, or engage. You owe yourself more than that. Heal in silence, glow in peace, and let his access expire. He watches your stories because it's the easiest way to keep you emotionally available, without ever being emotionally present. It costs him absolutely nothing to tap on your profile, watch for a few seconds, and vanish. But to you, it costs you peace, it costs you healing, it costs you closure. Every time you see his name pop up, it reopens a wound that was finally starting to close, and that's not an accident, that's intentional. See, what many people don't realize is that digital breadcrumbs, like viewing a story, liking a post, or reacting to something, can be powerful tools of emotional control. It's a subtle way of saying, I'm still here, without actually doing the work of being there. He doesn't want to reconnect with words, with effort, with responsibility. No, he wants the soft power of being remembered. He wants to exist in your mind rent-free, simply because he watched a 10-second clip of your life. And if we're being honest, you've started curating your stories with him in mind. You post something subtle, hoping he sees it. You wear your confidence like armor, smiling in photos you hope will catch his attention. You're not trying to get him back, but a part of you wants him to know you're doing fine without him. That's human, that's natural, but here's the dangerous part. The more you seek validation through his view, the more power you give him. You're letting someone who walked away determine how you present yourself to the world, and for what? A silent view, a passive presence, no text, no call, no apology, just a name in your story views. And you keep checking, don't you? Refreshing to see if he watched today, and when he does, there's that little jolt of emotion, that rush, that sense of being seen, but seen by who? Someone who never truly saw you when it mattered. That's not healing. That's a trap. That's emotional limbo, and he knows it. He may not say a word, but he knows the effect he has, and he uses that effect to stay relevant in your life, even though he doesn't deserve to be there. It's like dangling just enough attention to keep you wondering, hoping, hurting, and you deserve better than that. You deserve a peace that doesn't depend on who views your life. Let's flip the script for a moment. Imagine you stop checking. Imagine his name disappears from your radar. Imagine he watches your story, and you don't even notice. That's power. That's growth. That's healing. When your worth is no longer tied to the digital footprints of someone who left you empty, you reclaim your energy. You stop performing for someone who already exited the stage. So the next time he watches and doesn't reach out, don't overthink it. Don't take it as a sign. Don't start wondering what it means. It means nothing. Absolutely nothing. He's not confused. He's not shy. He's not waiting for the right moment. He's watching because it gives him a sense of control. And you have the power to take that back. You heal the moment you stop needing him to say anything at all. You have to understand, some people don't want you, but they also don't want anyone else to have you. That's why he watches your stories but never says a word. He doesn't want to be with you, not really. Not in the way you deserve, but the moment you start moving on, the moment you begin to glow without him, that's when he gets curious. That's when he starts lurking in the background, watching silently from the shadows, hoping his presence is still enough to keep you attached. It's not about love, it's about control, it's about ego. He doesn't want to give you his heart, but he also can't stand the idea of you giving yours to someone else. It bruises his pride to see you thriving without him. That's why he keeps his distance, but never too far, because if he really didn't care, he wouldn't be watching at all. Think about that. He may not text, he may not call, but his attention still lingers, and that's the game. Stay close enough to be noticed, but far enough to avoid responsibility. This kind of behavior isn't romantic, it's manipulative. It's a silent tug-of-war where you're the only one pulling, hoping that one day he'll join the effort. But he won't, because deep down he likes the version of you that's still waiting, still hoping, still emotionally available. He feeds off that energy. Your story views are his check-in. They're his proof that he still matters to you. And the more you notice, the more he wins. Let me say this clearly. Someone who truly wants you will not settle for watching your life from the sidelines. They'll show up. They'll speak up. They'll do the work. But a man who sits in silence and watches you every day while making no effort to reach you, that's someone who only wants to keep you emotionally stuck. He's comfortable knowing that you haven't fully moved on. It strokes his ego to know you still post, still wonder, still care. But that's not love. That's ownership disguised as interest. You deserve someone who doesn't just view your life from afar, but steps into it fully, with presence, with action, with real intention. Someone who doesn't need to be entertained by your stories because they're too busy building one with you. So stop falling for the illusion. A view is not a vow. A watch is not a wish to reconcile. It's just noise. Background static, and it only holds value if you let it. Here's what you do. Stop performing. Stop trying to get his attention. Stop curating your joy for his curiosity. Live out loud, but live for you. Because once you stop caring about who's watching, you finally start becoming someone worth watching. And not for him, but for yourself, for your healing, for your peace, for the woman you're becoming. Let him watch all he wants. but make sure he's watching you walk away, not waiting. There comes a point where silence says more than words ever could, and when he watches your stories without reaching out, he's hoping you'll read between the lines. He wants you to fill in the blanks. He wants you to do the emotional labor. You see, the silence is not empty. It's calculated. It's a strategy, because if he wanted to reach out, he would, but instead he leaves crumbs. He lets his presence linger just enough to keep you wondering, but not enough to give you clarity. This is how emotional power games begin. He doesn't say anything, but he's hoping you will. He's hoping that view notification is enough to stir you up, to get you second guessing, to keep you attached to an idea that he hasn't even committed to. That's the emotional hook. That's the invisible string, and the more you fall for it, the more control he keeps. Because let's be honest, a man who is mature, healed, and serious about you is not going to sit back and silently scroll through your life. He's going to show up in it fully, consistently, intentionally. But when he chooses silence, when he chooses distance, and then sneaks in through digital windows like your stories or your posts, it's because he doesn't want the responsibility of actually being with you. He just wants access, and that access is passive, it's comfortable, it doesn't require accountability. He can watch, get his fix, feed his curiosity, and leave you wondering if he still cares, all without saying a single word. That's not connection. That's control masked as curiosity. And here's what's worse. The longer you allow it, the more it chips away at your confidence. You start to dress for the view count. You start to speak for the audience you can't see, but know is watching. You start performing your healing, your glow up, your peace, not for yourself, but for the hope that he'll say something, do something, be something. But you weren't made to perform for love. You were made to be loved freely, clearly, and loudly. So, what do you do with that kind of silence? You stop interpreting it as a sign. You stop making excuses for why he hasn't reached out. You stop confusing his digital presence with real intimacy, because real love doesn't live in the shadows. It shows up at your door, it calls, it explains, it apologizes, it commits, and it does not hide behind silence and story views. If he wanted to speak to you, he would. If he wanted to check on your heart, he wouldn't be watching through a screen. He'd be walking beside you. So let his silence speak for itself. Let his lack of action be the loudest answer. And instead of waiting for him to say something, choose to say everything you need to yourself. I am worth showing up for. I am not a maybe. I am not background noise. I am not here for someone to consume me silently. And once you embrace that truth, you'll realize something powerful. His silence doesn't hurt anymore. It frees you. It's easy to get caught in the illusion that if someone is watching your stories, liking your pictures, or occasionally reacting with an emoji, they still care. That somehow, these little digital breadcrumbs are signs that he misses you, that he regrets letting you go, or that he's silently suffering on the other side of the screen. But I want you to hear me, attention is not affection. Views are not love. Curiosity is not commitment, and we have to stop romanticizing crumbs when we deserve the whole meal, because here's the truth. A man can watch your every move and still have no intention of stepping up. He can keep his eye on your life like it's a TV show he used to star in, but that doesn't mean he wants to come back and do the work. Some people just like knowing they still have access, that they can still pop into your energy without giving anything real. And for some of them, it's not even about love, it's about ego. It's about knowing that you'll notice when they watch, that you'll think about them, that you'll feel something, even if it's confusion, longing, or frustration. It means they still matter. But you've got to get honest with yourself. Are you mistaking his digital presence for emotional presence? Because a heart that's for you will not play hide and seek. It won't choose distance and then pretend to care through screen taps. If he's watching but not reaching, liking but not talking, checking in but never showing up, it's not love. It's a pattern of passive control. It's him keeping you emotionally tethered without taking responsibility for your heart. You deserve more than that. You deserve someone who won't leave you guessing, someone who doesn't just watch your life unfold. They step into it, they build with you, they communicate clearly, they act with integrity. And they don't need you to post something good enough to trigger a reaction. Real love doesn't need bait. Real love responds to presence, not performance. So don't let him fool you into believing that his curiosity equals care. Some people don't miss you. They miss your energy. They miss the way you made them feel about themselves. They miss the attention you gave, the validation you offered, the space you held. But that doesn't mean they're capable of loving you the way you deserve. There's a difference between someone missing your presence and someone being ready for your presence, between someone watching your story and someone wanting to write a new one with you. When you stop measuring your worth by who watches, who reacts, who views, you reclaim your power. You remember that you are not here to be consumed silently. You're not here to be watched. You're here to be cherished, engaged with, spoken to with respect and clarity, and anything less than that isn't love. It's noise, so let him watch, let him scroll, let him wonder, but don't let his curiosity be a reason you delay your healing. Don't let his quiet attention distract you from the peace you're building. And don't ever let a man who won't even text you think he still gets to influence your worth. You're not an option on a screen. You are the kind of woman who deserves to be chosen out loud. Some men don't reach out because deep down they know you're healing. And they didn't expect that. They didn't think you'd actually start rising. They thought maybe you'd crumble without their presence. They assumed your silence meant you were stuck, not strong. But now that you're starting to move differently, now that your energy has shifted, they don't know how to approach you anymore. You've become unfamiliar, and that scares them, because the version of you they knew was accessible, emotionally available, maybe even a little too understanding. But the woman you're becoming, she has boundaries, she has clarity, she has peace, and that version of you doesn't need breadcrumbs to feel worthy anymore. He's watching because he sees the glow-up happening in real time. He sees you laughing again. He sees the way your eyes are shining in photos. He hears it in your voice, even through a 15-second video. You're not the same, and instead of reaching out with humility, instead of saying, "I see you, and I'm proud of your growth," he stays back. He lurks, because to acknowledge your growth would be to admit that he underestimated your strength. It would be to confront the truth that losing him didn't break you, it built you. Some people struggle to face what they once took for granted, now becoming unreachable. They don't know how to relate to you once you've healed, once you've stopped begging, once you've stopped needing their validation. Healing changes the dynamic. It flips the power. And if he was only comfortable when you were hurting, then he won't know what to do now that you're healing. That's why he watches, because silence speaks, because your lack of contact is louder than any text you could have sent. And the reason he doesn't reach out, it's not always about ego. It's often about fear. Fear of rejection, fear of having to apologize, fear of seeing the woman he couldn't keep rising without him, and fear that if he does reach out, you'll no longer be the version of you that still wanted him. And that's okay. That's not your burden to carry. You're not responsible for making him feel comfortable with your transformation. Your only job is to keep evolving, keep choosing peace over chaos, keep showing up for the woman you're becoming. Because when a man knows he no longer has access to the same emotional space in you, it shakes him, not because he lost someone to talk to, but because he lost someone who made him feel powerful, seen, safe. And now she doesn't need him to feel whole. So if he's watching and not speaking, let him. You don't need to perform your healing for anyone's approval. Just keep doing what you're doing. Let your silence say what your words no longer have to. Keep walking forward. Let the ones who only knew the broken you be surprised by the healed you. Let them feel the weight of your absence, because sometimes the best closure isn't in the conversation. It's in the transformation. Sometimes the reason he watches your stories but never reaches out is simple. He's hoping for access without accountability. He wants the front row seat to your life without having to show up and earn it. There's a comfort in staying on the sidelines. No pressure, no confrontation, no vulnerability. Just him sitting behind a screen, observing your every move while you continue to evolve, grow, and thrive. And deep down, that gives him a sense of control. Because even if he's not in your life, he still gets to feel like he's close to it. He doesn't want to message you because that would mean opening a door he's not ready to walk through. It would require honesty, it would require intention, and most importantly, it would require effort. Watching your stories is low risk, reaching out is high risk, because if he does, he has to face the fact that he might not be welcomed back. That may be the version of you he knew, the one who would always answer, always explain, always make room is gone. He would have to come correct this time, and that's a responsibility he might not be prepared to carry. See, when someone only engages with your life from a distance, it's often because they want to keep the illusion of connection without doing the work of relationship. It's easier to like a photo than to apologize. It's easier to view your story than to ask how you're really doing, and it's safer to pretend like they still have a place in your world if they don't actually have to step into it. But let's be clear, you're not a show to be watched. You're a whole human being, living, breathing, growing in real time, and you don't need someone spectating your healing journey from the shadows. You deserve people who show up fully, not halfway. You deserve people who speak, not just watch. Who build, not just observe. Who take responsibility, not just take glances. This kind of silent, passive attention can be deeply confusing. It can stir up old emotions, cause you to question your progress, or tempt you to reach out just to ask, "Why are you still watching me?" But you don't need to do that. You don't need to chase clarity from someone who doesn't offer you commitment. If a person doesn't have the courage to reach out with authenticity, then their presence behind a screen doesn't deserve your energy either. Because the truth is, real connection requires courage, it requires presence, and anyone who is still stuck in the habit of watching but not speaking is showing you exactly what they're capable of, and what they're not. Your job isn't to decode his silence. Your job is to continue creating a life so full of peace and purpose that who's watching becomes irrelevant. You don't need someone's quiet attention when you've already found your voice. So let him watch. Let him sit behind the glass. Let him stay where it's safe for him. But don't you dare shrink for that kind of half-hearted attention. Keep living boldly. Keep healing loudly. Keep moving forward like the whole world is yours, because it is. And you don't need to look back at the ones too afraid to walk beside you. He watches your stories because it's the only way he can keep a connection without saying a word. It's like he's trying to feel close to you without taking the risk of being vulnerable again. In his mind, watching is safer than speaking. Reaching out would force him to face the truth, that you've changed, that you've grown, that you've healed in ways he didn't expect. Watching your stories is the only control he thinks he has left. But what he doesn't realize is, while he's passively observing your life, you're actively taking it back. You see, he thought your healing depended on him. He assumed you'd wait, that you'd stay stuck, that you'd fall apart without his presence. But instead, you found strength. You faced your pain head on, and now every time he taps on your story, he's reminded of the version of you that no longer exists, the one who needed him, the one who explained herself, the one who broke in silence. That version is gone, and what's left is someone he no longer has access to. That's what truly keeps him coming back, curiosity mixed with regret. He's watching because part of him is still hoping for a door to reopen, but he doesn't have the courage to knock. He wants reassurance that you're not really over him, that somewhere deep down you're still hoping he'll come back. But your silence, your distance, your peace, it speaks volumes. It tells him the story he doesn't want to hear, that you're healing without him and you're not waiting anymore. And that's the part he never saw coming. Sometimes the reason he watches your stories but never reaches out is because he's hoping you'll break the silence first. Deep down, he's waiting for a sign that you miss him, that you're still affected, that there's still a chance, and every time you post something, especially when it looks like you're glowing, thriving, laughing, he's dissecting it. He's reading between the lines, wondering, is that about me? Is she trying to get my attention? He doesn't reach out because that would mean risking rejection, but he watches because it still keeps the hope alive in his mind. Watching allows him to stay in the loop without facing the consequences of his absence. And if you were always the one who reached out before, if you were always the peacemaker, the forgiver, the one who tried to fix what was broken, then his silence now isn't just silence. It's a tactic. It's passive emotional control. It's him silently asking, will she do it again? Will she message me just like she used to? Will she bend again just like last time? He's not waiting for healing. He's waiting for a pattern to repeat. But this is the part where you break the cycle, because you've learned that love doesn't chase what's confused. It doesn't beg what's indecisive, and it doesn't water what refuses to grow. You know now that silence isn't weakness. It's power. It's you refusing to entertain half-hearted efforts. It's you choosing peace over proving your worth to someone who couldn't see it the first time. The silence you're keeping, that's not emptiness, it's boundaries. That's you protecting your energy. That's you healing without needing validation. And every time you choose not to respond, not to reach out, not to reopen that door, you're rewriting the story of your strength. Let him wait. Let him wonder. Because while he's stuck hoping you'll break the silence, you're out here breaking cycles, and that's the most powerful response of all. And here's the truth that most people don't want to admit. He watches your stories because he wants to see if you've moved on without him. That's what really burns. He doesn't care about the vacation, the dinner, the outfit, the new friends. What he's really scanning for is she happy? Did she survive me? Did she finally become everything I was too blind to appreciate? See, when someone loses access to your life, the only connection they have left is what you choose to show. And for a man who never expected you to heal without him, those stories become his window into what he thought would never exist, your independence. He doesn't want to reach out because doing that would confirm what he already fears. He no longer has a place in your world. And nothing threatens a man who operated through control more than seeing a woman become untouchable emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. You may not realize it, but every time you post, every time you live boldly, smile fully, or walk through your day without his name on your mind, you're teaching him a lesson he never thought he'd have to learn. You're showing him that closure isn't something you beg for. It's something you build, alone, silently, intentionally, without a text, without a call, without an apology. And the moment you stopped needing his attention was the moment he became addicted to watching your growth from a distance. He won't reach out, not because he's over you, But because your evolution now exposes his own stagnation, he knows he couldn't keep up with who you're becoming, so let him scroll, let him watch, let him stay stuck in the rearview mirror of your life while you drive forward, unapologetically. The version of you he once knew, she doesn't live here anymore, and that's exactly how healing looks.